Okay. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 19th, 2016 meeting of the Hot Springs Board of Directors. Tonight, our invocation will be led by Pastor Mark Maddux, to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Would you please stand with me?
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day that you have blessed us with. We thank you for the life that you breathed into our bodies once again. We thank you, Father, for this city, for the protection that you have provided it and its people. We thank you for this board that you have placed in leadership over this city. Father, I ask tonight as they meet and discuss the issues of the city that you will give them wisdom that comes from you. We pray for continued peace in our city, continued unity in the spirit of what's happening here. Father, I thank you for this meeting that we have, the freedom that we have to have this meeting. Lord, I pray that you would guide tonight's activities by your Holy Spirit. We pray all these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I hereby call this meeting to order. Would you please call the roll?
Yes, ma'am. Davidson.
Here.
Jones. Clark.
Here.
Williams.
Here.
Ramick.
Here.
Folly.
Here.
Carney.
Here. Okay. The first item of business is to consider the approval of the agenda. I think we have one item to be removed. Item number, I forgot which one that was. 11?
11.
11.
Yeah.
Okay. It has been removed from the agenda. Are there any other additions, deletions, modifications, items including any to be removed from the consent agenda? Item number 11, completely removed, not moved down or anything, just taken off. Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay. The motion is adopted. The next item of business is to consider the approval of the minutes of the board meetings, the regular meeting held on January 5th, the special board meeting number 7 held on January 29th, a special board meeting number 1 held on January 5th, and a special board meeting number 2 held on January 12th. Are there any corrections, additions, deletions, or modifications to these minutes? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Okay, is there a second?
Second again.
All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, please say no. Okay, it is adopted. In an effort to afford everyone an equal and orderly opportunity to address the items on tonight's agenda, I want to remind our citizens and our guests that we adhere to a 3-minute limit on your comments. And for your convenience, we will display a clock timer on the monitors above. And out of respect for all of us, we ask that you honor this request. While members of the board may have questions of the speakers, I ask that any general comments be reserved for the board discussion after all the speakers have been heard. As a reminder, would everyone please speak into the microphone so that everything can be heard by those attending and viewing the meeting. We also ask that all cell phones be silenced during the meeting, and please refrain from any disruptions of the meeting. Should you need to leave prior to the conclusion of the meeting, if your item is taken care of and you need to leave, please do so quietly. And we want to thank all of you for being here and for being concerned about the issues that our city has. We appreciate all of you being here. At this time, we have guests to be recognized. I want to call Stanley Barnes from the YMCA up to the podium, and I have a proclamation for Stanley, and after I read it and present it, I'd like for you to tell the people what's going on with mentoring. Okay, I'll read this. Whereas the goals of National Mentoring Month are to raise awareness of mentoring, recruit individuals to mentor, and encourage organizations to engage in and integrate quality mentoring into their efforts. Whereas a mentor is a caring, consistent presence who devotes time to a young person and helps the young person discover personal strength and achieve their potential through a structured and trusting relationship. And whereas quality mentoring encourages positive choices, promotes self-esteem, supports academic achievement, and introduces young people to new ideas. Whereas research shows that young people who were at risk for not completing high school but who had a mentor were 55% more likely to be enrolled in college, 81% more likely to report participating regularly in sports and extracurricular activities, more than twice as likely to say they held a leadership position in a club or sport team, and 78 more likely to volunteer regularly in their communities. Now, therefore, I, Ruth Carney, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Trustees and the City of Hot Springs, do hereby proclaim the month of January 2016 as National Mentoring Month in Hot Springs, Arkansas, in witness whereof I have hereto set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed on the 19th day of January in the year of our Lord, 2016. And I am so proud of Stanley. He was honored in Little Rock yesterday on the steps of the Capitol, and I'll let him tell you about that, but I'm going to give this to you now. I hope we have someone to take a picture.
Okay, and as we all know, though, our youth are faced with some tough and complex challenges, today, basically. And mentoring is one of the best and most lasting gifts that you can give a child. And we all just went through the gift-giving season, but now those gifts will fade away at some point, but the gift of mentoring will last a lifetime.
Tell us what happened yesterday.
Okay. Well, on yesterday, on the steps of the state capitol during the MLK proclamation rally, Hot Springs was recognized as a model city for mentoring. And we have a banner here that I want to kind of unveil today. But basically, they wanted to issue a charge and a challenge to all of the other cities and in the state of Arkansas and across the nation to model what we're doing here in Hot Springs as far as mentoring is concerned. So I was, turn it around. So I was asked to do a mentoring salute that basically honored all the mentors and mentees and mentoring programs in our city, in our state, and across the nation, while issuing that challenge and charge for more people to get involved, and especially men. So that's one of the things that we're faced with today. So this I want to kind of hang this somewhere in the city of Hot Springs because it's for the people of Hot Springs, because without you, none of this could be possible. So,
well, thank you so much. I think we have some bare walls in different places. Well, okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Okay. And now we will hear our city manager's report. You've been running all day long, haven't you?
Well, thank you, Mary. Yes. I wanted to share an excerpt from our downtown update, which Cole McCaskill, our downtown development director with the Hot Springs Metro Partnership, has prepared and sent out. And I thought it was worth noting that downtown saw 18 new businesses open in the 2015 calendar year and 22 since 2014. Only 5 have closed during that time for a net of 17 new businesses in the downtown area. I'm not sure that we've seen that since I've been in Hot Springs, so some great things happening down there. In addition, $22.8 million in capital investment took place in 2015. $8.14 million of that was in real estate transactions, with an additional $14.6 in redevelopment costs. So we're excited about the things that are happening in our downtown area and wanted to share that with the audience and with the public at home. Next, Highway 70 East. There are several projects that are in the queue for the Highway Department. One of those is Highway 70 East. Design is in progress. Bid letting for the section of 128 to I-30 is programmed for June of 2016 this year. The bid letting date for the portion from Hot Springs to 128 will be in 2018. However, that public involvement and planning starts much sooner. There will be a meeting from 4 to 7 at Crossgate Church on January the 28th. That's 4 to 7, Crossgate Church, January the 28th, to discuss that section from Hot Springs to 128. Next, the Majestic cleanup, as the board is aware, and for the audience, the board approved a contract with Spiritus Wrecking Company out of St. Louis at a special called meeting, and they have submitted a 10-day notice to ADEQ for the cleanup of the rubble at the Majestic Hotel. We expect them to be on site next week with removal beginning Tuesday, a week from today. The anticipated time to complete that is about 4 weeks. So we're excited that we have that particular cleanup in progress, and you should see a big difference starting next week. Finally, water supply continues to be one of our top priorities. I learned earlier that there's a draft that the demand model that we've been working on, that Garver has that draft complete, and a little bit of history. As everyone knows, we've submitted a reallocation study for Lake Ouachita. Most of the studies that are a portion of that, it's several studies that roll up into one reallocation request. The hydrology and hydraulic study is complete. The environmental assessment study is complete. Basically, all the studies are complete with the exception of that demand model that was submitted back in 2004. There were certain sections of that demand model as it went through its review that was determined to be critical failures. Part of that was that it was outdated. There's been a new census since 2004. They needed some additional transparency, and what that means is basically the demand model is a huge Excel spreadsheet, and one of the cells referenced additional spreadsheets on where they got that particular number, and those additional spreadsheets weren't part of the original submission, so they wanted to see those. And they also wanted it to be user-friendly, which basically is a narrative on what that engineer used as a process to get to that point. Fortunately, we were able to salvage that model. The three options that we were originally were given was to update the model, which they did not think at the time was going to be possible. We could develop a new model that was similar to what was used with Greer's Ferry, but yet had not been approved by the Corps of Engineers. And third was a waiver for the discrepancies. We went with the waiver because it was the shortest time frame that we could get that accomplished. As that went through the process, we engaged all of our Arkansas legislative delegates as well as our federal delegates, and they were very helpful as we went through the process. However, we did not receive the waiver from D.C. What it did do, though, I think, was brought enough attention that the model could be salvaged. As we had a subsequent meeting with the Corps of Engineers, they came back and reevaluated the model and really found about 3 areas that we needed to really address. Went back with Garver Engineer through Mid-Arkansas Water Alliance, and Garver was our original engineer through that alliance that developed the original demand model in 2004. Fortunately, the staff member that completed that model was still with the company, and they had those particular data still in archives. So, as they went through that process, updating the census was the easy part. You know, we've got the 2010 census; they've got that in the model. The transparency, the additional spreadsheets that were referenced in some of those cells, they had those, so we were able to get that as part of this next draft submission. And he was recalled developing that model and was able to write that narrative. So all of these things came together as a draft that is now with the Corps. They're going to meet on Thursday. I've got another meeting on Thursday, so I won't attend, but our President, Del Kimbrough, through the Mid-Arkansas Water Alliance and Garver Engineers will be meeting with the Corps on Thursday to, again, go back through that draft. We think we've got everything that the Corps needs to move this particular demand model forward. The keynote here is we're trying to reach a time frame. There's 3 time slots in the country on where this reallocation study and this demand model will go for its next evaluation, and it looks like next week there's an opening in Omaha. So Thursday's a pivotal meeting. We're hoping that we can move that out of the Vicksburg division. Ms. Plaxco just happens to be housed in Little Rock, but she is part of the general staff out of Vicksburg. So we're hoping to move that through the next process, which will be a technical review in Omaha, and that should take about 6 weeks. So that particular portion of the water supply initiative is moving forward. Lake DeGray, we continue to work on that. We're working still with the Vicksburg district on that particular lake and still reviewing our options with how we plan on moving forward with water there. It does not have to go through an allocation study because DeGray is already authorized for water supply. However, there are some options on how we retrieve that, whether that's through the main pool and paying pump back cost, or whether that's from the main pool paying foregone benefits, or whether that's from the main pool paying a updated cost of storage. So we're working through those issues with the Corps, and hopefully we'll have another meeting with them very soon as well. So both of those items are progressing. Just wanted to give the board an update on where we are on those, and hopefully Thursday, Dell and our representative, Paul Strickland with Garver Engineers, will have a successful meeting, and I'll be able to report again to the board soon. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. The next on the agenda is announcements, and I do want to announce that we are in the process of interviewing applicants for the city manager position, and tomorrow evening in the lobby of the convention center there'll be a citywide reception. You're all invited to come and meet the candidates or the applicants for the job. We have one that's not coming. That's in online.
There's one that will be out of town.
One is out of town, but there'll be Bill will be included in that. You can meet Bill Burrell over there, and 2 other ones that will be here in town. So we ask that you come for that reception, and then the next 2 days we'll be in the process.
Mayor, you might want to mention the time it starts.
I did 5.
Did you?
I thought I did 5. It's written in front of me. Maybe I didn't say it. 5 to 6:30 in the lobby at the convention center. Okay. Are there any other announcements of upcoming events? Okay. The next item of business is the consideration of the consent agenda. Items in this section are of a routine nature and will be considered as one item without discussion. I will entertain a motion to adopt the consent agenda.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. Okay, and the next item of business is consider ordinance number 01603 under new business. First of all, I will entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Do I have
Second.
a motion and a second to suspend the rules? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay, Council, would you please read the ordinance by title?
Ordinance 01603, an ordinance annexing certain lands that are completely surrounded by the incorporated limits of the city of Hot Springs, Enclave Area B, tracks A and B, close paren, or for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If now entertain a motion, second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Okay, do I have a motion to adopt?
I move for adoption.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Okay. Prior to our discussion on this matter tonight, I please recognize that there are differences of opinions on every matter that come before the board. Based upon the comments made at the public hearing in our last meeting, this is true of this matter as well. However, for purposes of those in attendance tonight, your opinions and comments are reserved to the podium, please. Out of respect for everyone, we please ask that you refrain from applause, hooting, applauding, booing, shouting, kicking, screaming, whatever it is that you might feel like doing, please don't, okay? Whether you agree or disagree with any of the speakers' perspectives or points of view, we ask that you should conduct a civil public debate over matters in these chambers with a degree of decorum that we all deserve, and we can do that. If not, the debate may be limited to just the board of directors for comments. So I'm asking that you please, this is not a circuit court or whatever, but pretend like it is and we'll have you put in jail, all right? So, not really. That was a joke. Smile, okay? You may smile, you may not laugh out loud, okay? Thank you for being here. Please be quiet and please let us carry on without interruption. I really appreciate that. Now, let's have a discussion. Let's see. How many have signed up?
If you want, I can start it off, Mayor, with some staff discussion.
Staff discussion
Yeah,
again.
then-
Okay, all right.
If that's fine.
Yes, please
Okay.
do.
Thank you, Mayor. This item comes to the board as an ordinance to approve an annexation that is labeled Enclave Area, Study Area B. There was actually 2 tracks within. They're noted on that the map up on your screens. Hopefully everyone can see that as well. Just a little background on the discussion that brought us here. The board did adopt a resolution calling for the public hearing, which was held January the 5th. And obviously, the vast majority of you were here for that public hearing. So that leads us to this evening, where the board is set to consider the ordinance, the annexation ordinance, and also is mandated in the state law the owners of record by the assessor's office. They were notified by certified mail. I believe we did send out just over 860 certified letters. So that portion of the code was upheld as well. Just to kind of put things in perspective, the Enclave A, the smaller one, that comprises approximately 42 acres. The area Tract B is larger. That is 579 acres for a grand total of 621 acres, which when you break that into square miles, that's just under a square mile. That's 0.97 of a square mile, which the city of Hot Springs is comprised of 35.6 square miles. Which that does include 23,000 acres if you're talking acres in square feet for a comparison. And also a little bit more background on what brings this item to the board. Act 109 of the 2015 General Assembly, that was sponsored by Senator Jake Files of Fort Smith, was approved, which obviously makes the lake a fourth boundary whenever the entire enclave is surrounded by the city of by the municipal limits, which obviously these 2 enclaves that you're looking at are surrounded by the city of Hot Springs, with the fourth boundary being Lake Hamilton. And in discussing the schedule of service delivery, we have set in consultation with our county partners April 1 of 2016 for the schedule of services delivery. So that's police, fire, sanitation, water, wastewater, etc. And also when we're talking about the board districts and everything else that goes with that also plays into the March primary that is coming fast approaching. And with that, there is one more thing I'd like to add. Title 17 in the Hot Springs Code, which also deals with property maintenance, that will not be coming into effect until January of 2018. So there is a good lag before that part of the code, which is the property maintenance code, will not come into effect until 2018.
Go back just a little bit and repeat the divisions for voting. Will that be in the next? When will they have that divided up for the boundaries and districts?
That we will not actually make that effective until April 1 of 2016. So so your primaries and everything will be unaffected by that. So we will not adjust any, if the board is to approve this, we will not adjust any of the boundaries within this area for a myriad of reasons that cause issues with notification from the county clerk to notice those that are within the various districts and voting precincts, etc.
Okay. Thank you. We will now have public comments. Mike Davidson.
Good evening, Board. Appreciate the opportunity to speak briefly to you. I am with the Lakeland Harbor Condo Association on the board. One of our other board members is here too. Early last year,
Just a second, and do your name and your address, okay?
Oh,
for the
451
record.
Lakeland Drive, Unit
Yes.
J4.
Thank you.
Don't send me extra taxes there, please.
Sorry.
We started investigating annexation early last year, prior to the regulation that came out with the state in June. Looked at the favorable aspects of doing it and any negatives, met with the assistant city manager, and then the board recommended we present this to our owners in July. We went to that meeting, had several city officials come out. We talked about what it meant to us, the pluses and minuses. After they left, we put it before the owners. We have, I believe, 47 owners in the condo complex, and it was voted unanimously that we were for the annexation. And I put a letter to the editor today, and it covers some of the points that we felt were the goods and the bads. Thank you.
Thank you. Ron Q.
Hello, my name is Ron Q, 424 Wildwood Circle, within the city of Hot Springs. I'm one of those people that actually chose to live within the city of Hot Springs, so some of you won't get that choice, apparently. So anyhow, there's a few things that I wanted to mention. One is, what I'm hearing is sort of some real reasons for these annexations. One is economics, so we could get services in a more efficient basis, but when I look at this particular area, what Lance just told us, it's got a population density about half of what the city population density currently is. So we're picking an area where the houses or the people are farther apart than what they currently are. So that doesn't seem like that's going to make it more efficient for delivering services, for one thing. Another thing I notice on that act, it says that it needs to have 3 sides covered by the city and 1 by water national park. It looks to me like it's 2 sides by the city and 2 by the lake. So it doesn't seem like that even applies in this particular instance. My main thing, though, is there's a lot of people that are for, a lot against annexation, and a lot of us that actually could be for annexation are mostly against this forced annexation, because that's just not the American way to. We don't want to bully our neighbors into doing something. What we want to do is to convince our neighbors that something's a good thing for them and for us, and then join hands instead of, we're doing this in a way that is combative instead of inclusive of those people. And I spoke out against it for the first enclave that got considered, and this one too. This one, I happen to have a piece of property in Enclave B that I don't want annexed. But I think just in general, all of these things, it seems like the way it's set up, where it's like a divide and conquer. We'll do one little piece at a time and hope that there's not enough of a pushback by getting the people in small groups so that we can conquer them. And that's just not the way this ought to be done. If we want people to be part of the city, we need to convince them that it's good to be within the city. We're doing some other things that are in the right way. Look at what's going on downtown. We're doing things where we're encouraging businesses, and the businesses that are coming in there, we're giving a welcome hand. That's the way we need to do this if we're going to grow, not by forcing people to do something against their will, because what you get is you get resentful people participating in your process, and that's not what's best for Hot Springs, and it doesn't seem like it's best for the people either, because they're not getting a choice.
Thank
So
you.
that's what I have to say.
Gary Troutman.
Gary Troutman, 451 Lakeland, Hot Springs. Thank you for the time tonight. You know, there's a lot of compelling issues. I think the map that's up there illustrates this best. If you, of course, the timer's up there, but if you look on Lakeland Drive, for instance, a tenth of a mile off of Central Avenue is into the county. On Buena Vista, to the north part of the map, 2/10 of the mile is in the county. So we are being lumped in with the folks out north of Jessieville, east out towards Magnet Cove, south towards Bismarck, and west past Lake Hamilton School. Now, with all due respect to the Sheriff Department, Sheriff McCormick and Sheriff Sanders before him, and the volunteer fire departments, it's just not feasible to cover that big of an area with a skeleton staff. We are that close to Central, a stone's throw, you might say, to Central, and yet we're in the county. And at any given time, the city has 5 to 6 times the patrol units the county does. You know, a lot of people are strongly about the issue of forced annexation and, should this be voted on and all that. To me and my family and my neighbors, 2 of whom are here tonight, it's about safety. You know, we've had to call the Sheriff's Department 3 times in the 8 years I've lived in the neighborhood. Once we got a response that took over 30 minutes, and the other 2 times we did not get anyone to come at all. And again, we're half a mile off Central Avenue. So we can argue about this and that, but this really is an issue of about safety and families, and yes, money's involved. There's money savings to be had in insurance premiums, but there's the safety and security of going to bed tonight and knowing that a law enforcement agency will be there if you need them, and they'll come out promptly, and your wife and your kids and your family will be safe. And we can argue about all sorts of other issues, but when it comes down to that, I think it's a very simple decision. The state legislature has given you all the authority to approve this, and I would encourage you to do so, to annex this area. It's time. We all want to be part of Hot Springs. Thank you.
Lloyd Hoffman.
Lloyd Hoffman, 107 Gray Circle, Hot Springs. There was a great letter in today's Sentinel Record by Mr. W.R. Cowan, which was against forced annexation. I wish to read a few brief quotes from his letter. The founders said the basic reason for creating a government is to protect the unalienable rights of the people. The Creator endows. The state exists to protect. The founders also believed that human happiness requires that each of us enjoy the right to acquire, develop, and dispose of property. They believed that without the protection of property rights, all other rights are placed in serious jeopardy. It's disappointing that the city board does not understand that their role is to protect our rights. Forced annexation without a vote of the people is unconstitutional and morally wrong. It should be challenged by the court. Thomas Jefferson wrote, "Next to the right of liberty, the right of property is the most important individual right guaranteed by the Constitution. The time has come to end involuntary annexation in Hot Springs." And last of all, I would like to say that I wholeheartedly agree with Dr. Jack Sternberg, who recently called for a vote of the people on this issue. We realize that a vote would carry no legal right in deciding annexation decisions, but we would like the city directors to at least have the true representation of the people's voice before deciding to annex any more areas. Dr. Sternberg proposed that the vote should take place on Election Day, November 8th, so as to maximize the people's voting numbers. Decide then, based upon that vote, rather than by more and more of your dictatorial rule. Listen to what the people want. It's the right thing to do, and you know it is. We will all be watching to see what you decide to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Hank Lucian.
My name is Hank Lucian. I live at 451 Lakeland Drive. I'm a resident of Annexation Area B. I retired here in Hot Springs from Houston 10 years ago, but my original hometown is Oklahoma City. In the late 60s, Oklahoma City expanded its territorial limits or its city limits 10 or 12 miles in each direction. And if you ask today, they'll tell you it's one of the smartest decisions they ever made in terms of efficiency and productivity of city services and operations, and in the overall balance of activities between the city and the county. It's called the economy of scale, and it's a very important principle of economics, and I'm talking about the long term. It's a win-win for the residents to be annexed, for the citizens of Hot Springs, and for the city of Hot Springs, because it will result in a lower fixed cost per capita. I want to see the city of Hot Springs be successful and prosper in the future, and this is one way to do it. On a personal side, when I did retire here, I thought when I bought my place that I was in Hot Springs, but I was surprised and disappointed to find out that I was not. I was a county resident, even though I live less than a half mile from Central Avenue. I would like to be able to vote for mayor, for the city board, and to volunteer for various city committee assignments as they come up, but I have not been able to do that, and I would like to be able to do that. So I urge you tonight to please vote for annexation. Thank you.
Mr. Lucian, may I ask you a question? In Oklahoma City, when they annexed, was it with a vote of the people or was it without a vote?
There was no vote.
No vote. Okay. Thank you. John Homatus?
Good evening. My name is John Homatus. I live at, that's okay, everybody does it, 169 San Carlos Point. I spoke at the last meeting, and I was opposed to the annexation, and I continue to be opposed. My real issue is if my neighbors collectively voted to be a part of the city, I would be a part of the city. But if you do not allow us the right to vote our own fate, this is a double-sided sword. If you don't let us vote our own fate and you vote us in, then we can vote your fate. That's how it works. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Janet McAdams.
Hello, I'm Janet McAdams. I live at 118 San Carlos Cove. And I wanted to I didn't finish what I wanted to say the last time, but, my husband has checked with several of the offices around town, and we've been told that it'll save us about a third on our water bill, 10% on our property taxes. We won't have the volunteer fire department bill to pay. And this isn't something that'll just save us one time. This is every year. The services, they won't have to come in from out of the county to provide those services. I live right behind Walmart, and I found out that I lived in the county when I went to vote in the city, and they didn't have me on the roster. And I'm like, I live like a half a mile from here. And they said, no, that you're in the county. And I was just totally shocked. So anytime anybody wants to save me several $100s a year, be my guest. I don't need to vote on it. I'm more than happy to be saved several $100s a year. And I thank you for your leadership and your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Roman.
Good evening, everyone. The government is back, as you can see. I'm grateful Mr. Hoffman had brought up some of the things that he did. I was wondering if you gentlemen, I was surprised I didn't see you open up your pocket constitutions and check out if he had...
Name and address, please.
I am so sorry. Roman Terlecki, domiciled in Garland County, 193 Lee Warren Lane, 100-year-old family property from back in homesteading days. I am trustee for a parcel of property in Arzella Acres, and also with my mom at 176 Lake Hamilton Drive.
Okay.
Mom's right here. She's against it, too.
Hi, Mom.
But anyhow, I'm surprised that you didn't open up your pocket constitutions to just double-check what Mr. Hoffman was talking about. You know, we opened up again tonight in prayer. We prayed. We pledged. I fear, because of my Christian responsibility, to share with you that when you're in error, when you're about to go into error, it's my duty as your brother in Christ to come to you, if you're an erring brother, and say, hey, what are you doing? What are you about to do? The people have so eloquently in the last meeting cited how that their consent was being overlooked, very much in page 1, page 2 of this other very unique document that comes out of the uniqueness of this document, sort of oversees it, you know, from up there in the third heaven. And we've got the Holy Spirit here in the angelic realm that we can't see. But once again, the concern is for your future welfare, just going forward in time, going contrary to what the will of God is, his permissible will, as it's come down through the documents and history. We've got men and women who swore to uphold the Constitution, are off in Iraq and Afghanistan, and there's a number of black flag operations going on where we don't even know where some of these men are, but they've attested the same way that you have. I plead with you that you do the right thing, and that right thing is to follow what the Constitution says, not the enabling statute. The statute is definitely in error, and I'm going to be in prayer, because I would hope that if you thought I was in error against God and his word and the Lord and Savior, that you would come to me and say, Roman, we need to have a talk. I would appreciate that, and I hope you all consider that as well. Vote no on annexation and return Enclave A to the people. Rescind that. You will get blessed as a city for doing the right thing. You may fall into condemnation. I set before you this day a blessing and a curse. A blessing if you choose to obey, a curse if you disrespect. That's pretty strong in principle. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Jim, don't do that, please. Yes, thank you. Jim West.
I'm Jim West. I live at 456 Lake Hamilton Drive. I've lived here for about 40 years, and the big questions, and I'm opposed to annexation, especially opposed to it without having the opportunity to vote. This is not the democratic way. The questions in my mind are, I've seen nothing to indicate to me that the city had any of the infrastructure in place or plans to put it in place to serve these annexed areas. Have you built any new fire stations in this area? Have you hired any new firemen? Have you bought any new fire protection equipment? Have you trained any firemen that are going to service this area? Have you addressed the area completely to see that some of the streets are very narrow and would be difficult to get fire equipment in these areas if it were needed? Do you have a plan to maintain these streets that you're going to take over from the county? And do you have the money to do it? And the police protection, somebody mentioned earlier that they took 30 minutes to get a response from the sheriff's department. I've lived here 40 years. I've seen none of this. The few times that I've had my alarm systems go off, the police were there, the county police were there within 5 minutes. So I don't see any problem with the county servicing the needs. Do you know what the crime rate is in this area as opposed to what the crime rates are in the city? These are my questions. Have you bought any new police cars? Have you hired any new policemen to service these areas? I think all of these things should be taken into account, and you need to have a better game plan as to how you're going to service these areas before you jump out and annex them, especially annexing them without the people in the area voting it overwhelmingly or at least in a majority. These are the things that I have a concern with, and I urge you to vote against forced annexation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bill Leggett.
My name is Bill Leggett. I live at 168 Bender Point, and I'm opposed to the process of this annexation. I think it's wrong in several different ways. I'm not sure that the intent of this act was to take in such a large portion of land. I can see if you've got a small little area where a city would want to overtake that. But this is also an issue of trust. And it causes distrust on our part when we don't have any say in it. It seems like a power play and a land grab to me. If you remember back around Christmas time, the city of Little Rock condemned an apartment complex, told everybody they had to get out, it was unsafe, without any regard to whether they had the means to do it, the ability to do it, the financial or physical ability to do it. And they had to back up. But that's scary. That's scary for us to think that you're not going to be operating in our best interest or that we don't have any kind of input in it. I'm sorry, but I think if you vote this in tonight, it's not going to be the end of it. I wish you'd give it more consideration, more time, and more thought, and at least some input from our side.
Thank you. Mary Bournival.
Bring it down low enough. I'm Justice Mary Bournival, as Justice of the Peace for District 4.
Address?
My address is 113 Foxwood Street. I do live in the city.
Thank you.
I lived in the area of Enclave A that was annexed last fall, and I represent most of the homeowners that are in Enclave B as a county justice. So I guess I'm the only voice that they have, elected voice tonight. At the last meeting, there were several questions that were asked that the public deserves an answer to, and I didn't hear them yet. One of them was, what is it going to cost to put a new fire station on Central Avenue? Not just build the fire station, but to man it and staff it and equip it. Chief Davis didn't mention that when we were talking about Annexation A, or Enclave A, but last time he said that now's the time to get the new fire station. Another question that was asked is, how much is this going to cost? And the only answer was, whatever the board approves. I think that the people deserve a more responsive answer to that question. Another question was, what is the motivation to bringing these people in without a vote? That did not receive an answer. Another question was, why hasn't the crime statistics been put into the FBI? I do believe it was somewhere in the neighborhood of 39,000 calls that the Hot Springs Police Department responded to compared to the 700 and some calls for this area. So there's a big difference. But none of those figures for 2014 was put into the FBI files. There was a question as to why not and what are those figures. People deserve answers. They deserve that respect and they deserve that transparency before being heavy-handedly moved into the city. Thank you.
Okay. I think we can answer one of those right now with Chief Stacy. Would you tell her about the computer system and bring us up to date on what happened?
Mayor Jason Stacy, Interim Police Chief. 2 weeks ago, one of our citizens brought this issue up here at the board meeting. The following morning, I met with our database administrator and also my command staff and had basically learned that the issue why the crime stats had not been reported to the FBI was a technology issue. We have a RMS, and I'm going to really kind of cut it short. It's a records management system that we have purchased from Spillman Technologies in Logan, Utah, and have been using it really well since 1999. 2 or 3 years ago, they upgraded their system. When they upgraded their system, it did not allow, there was no patch, and I'm using patch in the sense of technology, to upload our crime data to the state, the Arkansas Crime Information Center, which eventually gives it to the FBI. When I found that out, I contacted Spillman, and I said, Spillman, this is not acceptable. We have got to get our stats to the FBI. Now, the one thing that I am proud of as your police chief is that we have consistently uploaded those stats on a platform. So it's been there. We've collected it. We've put it all in place. So Spillman came. We had a Spillman, I believe it was an executive vice president, flew in on Monday night. He spent 3 days with us. And I'm glad to report on Wednesday night, Spillman was able to remotely connect to our server, our internal server, and fix that problem. But let me tell you, I put a lot of pressure on Spillman. I explained to them that this has to be fixed, and they came through. Tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we begin reporting January of 2014. Once that month is submitted, we begin February 2014, hopefully the following day. So we are putting our stats in. They fixed our problem.
Yeah. Technical difficulties. Thank you. Thanks for sharing. Please, would you like to explain any of those others that Mary asked? One was the cost of a fire department.
Mayor, is that all that signed up to speak?
Pardon?
Is that all that have signed up?
No, but she asked questions that we can't
answer.
answer.
So we're going ahead and do that now.
No, Bill can answer her question.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, this is not the public
I just see a
hearing.
lot of staff lined up here, and I wonder at what point they're going. So when the speakers finish, then we'll hear from them. Unless there's a
You've
question.
already heard from the staff. We've had that.
Okay.
She asked a question. We can answer the question.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mayor, Chief Ed Davis is out of town. We do have Fire Marshal Broughton in as our acting fire chief, and if Tom could step up to the podium, I'll let him address the questions for the fire department.
Tom Broughton, Fire Marshal. I was actually standing in the hallway counting heads, so I don't know exactly
so you don't know what
the
she
question
asked.
was.
I think we've already gone through it in other meetings, but to add that new fire department that we've talked about for a long time on that other side of town, is there a price, more or less, what it's going to cost us to do that? I think that was the question.
A couple years ago, Chief Davis looked into it, and I think the number he came up with was $1.5 to $2 million. But he's done a coverage study of these annex areas, and we can respond to anything that we have right now
without
hurting any ISO numbers or anything like that.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, Mayor, I'll just add.
Okay.
I've worked for the city for 17 years and lived here all my life. And from the moment that the mall was annexed in that area, the city of Hot Springs has been talking about putting a a fire station out in that area. This is not something that's being dictated by the potential annexation of any area out there. This is something that has been on the table for future plans for decades. Unfortunately, the money has not been appropriated for that. It's something that is fast becoming a priority. But this is not a new concept. This is not a new idea. It's not a new problem.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Can I add to that?
Oh, you can ask a question.
Well, I was going to say in 2008, we had a 0.5% public safety tax that was defeated, which would have built a new jail, operated a new jail, but it also would have built new fire stations. So it's not something that has not been thought of before. It's been in the works for some time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Peggy Thurman. Oh, was there another question that we didn't answer? That was it, right?
No, there was none.
There was, okay.
The people want to know the motivation as to why you're forcing this annexation. What is the benefit for the city to force all these people in?
Do you want to answer that one?
Well, I can just say that the efficiencies is what made it attractive for us. I mean, anytime that you have multiple trucks, taking down these streets, at some point, this is an urbanized area. As you heard many of the speakers, some don't know that they're not in the city. At some point, these areas will most likely be part of the cities, and we continue to do damage to the streets by duplicate services. It's not good for either government when we have duplicated services in an area that's already urbanized. We go back a few years. We had meetings with planning commissions. We had people from the county that sat on those, that were appointed on those, and we discussed several of these areas. At that time, we even had what was called a shrink to grow, and that was back when we looked at the 5-mile ETJ and shrinking that down to 1 mile. Part of that was, it doesn't make sense for us to be out 5 miles. It does make sense for planned growth in a 1 mile area. And there were discussions and compromises as we negotiated and talked about those things. And as we talked about that shrink to grow, it was looking at these areas inside that lake boundary, and it made sense that should be inside the city limits. And we moved forward with that. And there were several people, both city and county, that worked on those issues. There is no other real motivation other than making this more efficient and looking at those urbanized areas and making sure that we've got a planned growth within that area. So,
Peggy Thurman, thank you. Peggy.
Good evening. Peggy Thurman. I love the city of Hot Springs. All of my properties are in the city of Hot Springs. I now reside in District Number 1, and I represented the city and the county for 18-something years. You are the representatives of the people, city and county. A lot of people don't get that concept because you are voted in by your respective districts. However, each vote that you make affects everybody in the city, and as you can see tonight, people in the county. The will of the majority of the people should be treated as the number one priority when considering your vote. If you override what people want, then you will ultimately lose more people to the county. They're moving out of the city to the county. I remember the last census, and there was a significant loss of residents in the city. However, the county enjoyed a 9.1% increase. They move out to the county, and then it becomes a city, and not by their choice. In 1998, after the last forced annexation, which was the Cutter Morningstar area, the city made a very specific and recorded commitment never to force people into the city again. When should the people trust the word of the city? selectively, or it doesn't make any sense. If you watch national political news, you see the same thing happening. Broken promises, both parties, and people are very upset. People should be trusted. You are sworn in representatives. If I could vote, I would be voting for the people, even though I choose to live in the city. I don't want to live in the county. I watched on January 5th. They clearly expressed that they are happy to live in the county. They bought in the county. If you do not have the courage to do the right thing and vote to represent the wishes of the people, then let them vote. And about your legislative right to vote for the future of these people's lives. It reads that you may, not should. So please do not hide behind the legislative words. Listen to the will of the people, or let them vote on where they want to live, in the city or the county. You could lose more people in the city by annexing the people in this city, because people are watching, people are listening, and they're moving further out. My decision was to live in the city or move to Glenwood. I chose to invest and live in the city, and I'm going to stay in the city, but this is not the way to do it. Please let the people vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Barbara Duchelle. I appreciate the way you wrote your name over there so I could pronounce it properly.
Got you put reading it. I knew you knew how to say it. I'm Barbara Duchelle, 810 Lakeland Point. I live in the county. This is a mess. You, the city board, denied me, a county resident, the right to vote on the Oak Lawn expansion. And now you want to force me into the city, and that also is denying me the right to vote on where I live. The legislature erred in their decision, severely erred in not including a vote from the people who are affected, yet nowhere in that legislation does it say that a vote of the people may be instituted by the city who wants to swallow me and my neighbors up. On December 3rd, I signed a certified letter. Special delivery postage for that one letter was $5.34. The person that brought it to me told me that she was delivering to 300 homes, along with 26 other delivery people that were doing the same. That extrapolates out to $41,652 in just postage, and that doesn't include their labor. So I don't know what the people were being paid to go do that. Why is the city spending money without a vote from the people who are being forced into the city and without a vote of, for, and by the people? The legislature erred, as I said, and nowhere does it say in that legislation that you, the city board, can't institute a vote from us people in the county whether we'd like to be forced into your annexation. Thank you.
Thank you. Bill Neri, I think. Is it Neri?
Mayor, board members, I'm Bill Neri, 125 Beacon Hill Road. I sent you all email this morning, except Mr. Foley, your email address from the city clerk is not right. So it came back undeliverable. But people put you in this office to do their will. And you said you would do that. And yet, a good leader does that. But when you become a ruler and you decide what's best for me without letting me vote is wrong. Morally wrong, constitutionally wrong. We have the right, we should have the right to decide. And if everybody says go for it, that's fine. But you're not giving us that right. You're telling me what to do. The last time that was done, I'd done 21 years in the Air Force. I did what they said. I'm old enough now, I should be able to make up my own mind. But please, think about what you're doing. I hope that you make the right decision. I hope God gets on your side and make you make the right decision. We all care for where we live. We decided to do that for a reason. I know the police department did a hard job. I spent 21 years in San Diego PD. I know what it's like. And so everybody works hard in city services. But also the county people do a good job too. We're happy with it. I wish you'd think hard before you make your decision. I hope God watches over as you do that.
Thank you. D. Neary, you let him talk for you? Okay, thank you. Pat Henley. Okay, they've already said everything you wanted to say. Jim Henley. Okay, all right. Ditto all the way across that line right there. Skip Houston. You will not let anybody talk for you, right?
Probably not. Skip Houston, 155, 5 Point Circle, still in the county as of now. And, you know, there was a Southern humorist years back, Brother Dave Gardner, that used to say, "Rejoice, dear hearts." Some of you all remember that. Well, rejoice because George Pritchett is out of town tonight, and I'm not going to take my full 3 minutes. There's really not much I can add. You've heard from...
Whoa, there you go again.
Don't charge my time.
Happy hands back there.
You've heard from county resident after county resident, and almost everyone has said in their own words, "Please just leave us alone. You have nothing to offer us that we want. We want to be left in the county, not dragged into the city by force." To proceed with forced annexation in the face of such determined principal opposition would seem the height of foolishness, yet you appear poised to proceed with that. Enclave B consists of over 600 acres. It has 10 miles, approximately, of prime lake shoreline. By contrast, it only touches the city limits for about 3.5 miles. Most of it isn't bounded by the city on 3 sides, as the law clearly calls for, but only on 2, the north and the west. To call this a stretch of the law is an understatement. We hope this particular stretch of the law doesn't have to be challenged in court. There have been a number of letters and opinion pieces in the Sentinel Record, as well as in the Hot Springs Daily and Arkansas Herald Online. Just today, an article in the paper quoted County Judge Rick Davis as believing the people should vote on it. Quote, "I'm not against annexation as long as it's a public decision. I don't like forced annexation." He said, quote, "I don't like the fact that they've taken the public's choice away." Pardon me. Most voices have been against annexation, but a few have advocated it and some tonight have. And that's what's called a healthy debate, and that's the foundation of our American system. We have never shied away, we as a people opposed to this, have never shied away from that debate or claimed that we had the only valid viewpoint. What's not a foundation of the American system is what the city has done and is doing. By denying the public the right to vote on the matter, this board is saying, in effect, we know better. That's not the American way. That's authoritarian. It borders on dictatorial conduct. All we've asked is for the opportunity to make our case with our fellow citizens, both city and county, and then vote on it, and we'll abide by the result of that vote. We once again tonight respectfully ask for that right and opportunity. If this board continues to deny us that right, we will have no recourse but to pursue whatever other remedies are available to us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dan Lewin.
I didn't see Dan back there.
You want us to wait till this is all over so you can talk at the end? You're going to do it now? All right.
I'm the bluebird of happiness, and I want to make everybody happy.
All right, name and address.
And so I kept asking myself, why do you want to annex anybody?
Name and address, please.
Oh, my name is Dan Lewin. Right. I live at 135 Magnolia.
Thank you.
In Hot Springs. Whew. Yeah. So anyway, I came up with a solution that one of them is money, and the other one is numbers. So I have come up with a solution for the whole problem. You instead of annexing the section, you just put them under city tax. property taxes, sales tax, whatever, and let them pay the county tax too. Now, that'll provide police protection for them, fire protection for them, garbage pickup, and so that's quite a bit of work there. The county can take care of the roads since they're getting taxes too. And then, now these extra taxes they pay out will be more or less nullified by the less insurance that they're going to have to pay. And they're going to have to pay less for water, less for garbage. They're going to have less for police and fire protection. And so it'll probably be, as far as their money goes, it'll probably be a wash to them. So the city gets that's extra money. The county residents get to live in the county where they want to live because that's where most of them want to live. And now, if you want to get numbers in a city, you don't increase your numbers by annexing. You increase your numbers by improving your city. And if you all would pay more attention to what to do for the city, like lowering some of the demands that you put on the businesses in town, even though there's 17 new businesses in town, I haven't seen them. I'm going to have to go downtown one of these days and count the new businesses. But the thing is, that's how you get extra people into a city, by making it more desirable for them to live there, instead of putting a bunch of regulations on them that makes them want to move out. So everybody be happy, right?
Yeah. Thank you. Russ Thomas.
My name is Russell Thomas. I live at 112 Summer Street in the city. And we've heard a lot of compelling arguments tonight on both sides of the issue. But I think that when you go to make your decision, you need to step back, and before you consider any of those arguments, for or against, you need to consider, do you really have the authority to do this? The legislation says that you can do this if you're surrounded, if you have 3 boundaries on the city and 1 on the water, 3 sides that are boundaries. And if you look at the map of that, obviously there's nothing whatsoever on the city on the south side, on the boundary. Obviously there's nothing on the east side on the city. I mean, I hope to ask each of you to look at this map and publicly tell us how you see 3 sides that have boundaries by the city and only 1 side by the water, because it just isn't there. I've asked my elementary and middle school kids, how many boundaries does this purple area have? And they both said it has 2 boundaries on the lake and it has 1 boundary on the city. And I think if y'all look at it, in all honesty, that's what you're going to find. The property is not eligible for annexation by a board vote. And I have no opinion either way as to whether it should be annexed. I see the benefits of annexation, but I don't think that's the question. I think we should make this decision based on whether it's eligible for a board vote first. And then once you've passed by that, then move on. And you've got an excellent attorney, Brian Albright. He could argue both sides of any issue. If you commit a murder, you go to an attorney, he gets you off. So I have an idea what Brian's going to say. He's going to find something that my 4th grader and my 8th grader wouldn't understand. And I ask you to make your decisions based on whether you see 3 sides or not that are surrounded by the city. Thank you.
Mayor, Russ and I know each other. Can I ask him a question?
You may ask him a question.
Now, what would you say about Track A?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I wrote a letter to the editor. Yeah. That's clear. Absolutely. And in that letter to the editor, I stated that that is surrounded on 3 sides by the city and that you have the right to do so. And beyond that, I don't have an opinion. I honestly do not have an opinion as to whether we should annex this or not, because I see some public safety benefits in it. But I do not think it should be forced. I think it should be by a vote, and I don't think it can legally be done without a vote. And Brian's going to get his chance to take a stab at me in a minute.
Don't murder. No stab.
Thank you, Russ.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. E. Eccles.
Elizabeth Eccles, 233 Bow Bayou. And I'm against anything that takes away the right of people to vote or their voice. And I'm upset with the legislators who let this ordinance go through and not represent the people, but represent the municipal league and give it to a board that if you gave them an inch, they'd take a mile. Of course, you wanted 5, and you're working on it very hard. And I think it's wrong to not allow the people to have a voice and vote on this. And this is a slippery slope. This is something that would happen in Cuba, a socialist country. And it's a slippery slope when you take the vote of the people away and take their land. And that's what Cuba would do. Thank you.
The next one I'm not sure is Larry, and it starts with a B.
Definitely need his name and address.
Mm-hmm. And just in the microphone, so we'll have it your name and address so I can spell it right.
Larry Burton at 117 South Lakeland Point. You know, the last general election, the state of Arkansas tried to pass a voter's ID law, the photo ID law. And the Democrats said it was disenfranchising the voters. Well, what would the Democrats say about this, you know? I'm opposed to annexation. I got 2 pieces of property inside this area. And my house is not that important to me either way, but my business is, because everything goes up when you run a business. When the regulations and everything else is higher when you're in the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Silverman.
Good evening. My name is Diane Silverman. I live at 1404 Cedar Glade Road. I'm here at the request of many people, city and county residents, who have already made it clear to you that they oppose your intention to annex certain enclaves into the city without a public vote. I'm here to suggest that you pause in your heated intention to move forward without a public vote. Whether the annexation schemes are to increase city population or to increase city taxes and fees base is not the biggest issue. What is most at issue is to acknowledge that we do not yet live under the Communist Manifesto. Do we? Our Constitution makes it very clear. I hold here in my hands the greatest statements of human liberty ever written, the Declaration of Independence and the United States Constitution. It makes very clear that government derives its power from the consent of the people, and that the people retain the right to alter or abolish government when it becomes destructive of those ends. In that light, many people in the city and county feel that your tactics for annexing people's property into the city without a public vote is abusive. And should any of the board of directors persist in the attempt to move county property into the city without a public vote, it will be cause for recall of any director who votes to do so. Unless we the people stand for our constitutional rights in cities and towns across the nation, we will likely, maybe soon, lose the freedoms we cherish, of which property rights are right at the top. We cannot allow the board of directors to set a precedent of forced annexation because the city will soon want all of the county. We fought you on the ETJ. We gave in to a certain extent when it seemed somewhat reasonable. But if we don't stand up now, if we do not take a stand, we the people, then you will run over us, sure as we are standing here today to take more of the county because you will have set a precedent and we will have let you do that. If you insist on denying a public vote, the people will vote a no confidence in this board of directors and go forward with the recall, which they have the right to do. Perhaps it's best to step back at this time to examine who wins and who loses if the board continues to abuse its oath of office. A recall is not a nice thing. It certainly is not something a board member would cherish, and it's not something that people want to do. But the tenets of freedom are more powerful than either of those considerations. It's time to think it over. In the meantime, there is a meeting this Saturday at 1 p.m. to begin the recall process in case you don't allow a public vote. The group has rented the 5-Star Theater at 1 o'clock this Saturday. This will be an organizational meeting. It's not a town hall. It's not a debate. Several of the people in this room have organized and led successful recall campaigns before and are willing to lead and do it again. Everyone who wants to participate in the recall process is welcome. Please do not bring food or drinks. The meeting will only last about an hour.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you. Okay. Now, that concludes the people that are signed up. Their discussion by the board.
I want to. Can I ask a question of Denny McFate, Public Works Director? Denny, how many miles of street do we have in the city?
Director, approximately 278, 79, somewhere around there.
I have some experience in that. I was county judge for 16 years. The county's road system is almost 1,000 miles. How much? I noticed in the forecast that we might have snow Friday. How many vehicles do you have that could address that?
Currently have 7 snowplow trucks with 7 sand spreaders on them.
I doubt the county has that much to cover the entire county.
No, sir. I think they have 2.
Well, when I left, we had 4. But that's a lot of territory that's in rural areas. That's all. I came by your office to get that statistic so that I didn't have to put you on the spot.
Thank you, sir.
Okay?
Discussion by the board. Any questions of any of the department heads?
I just want to say this. I'm going to say the same thing that I did the night we enacted Enclave Area A. I appreciate everybody that attended those hearings, these hearings, that have contacted me both for and against. However, my mind was made up on this issue 20 years ago when I was county judge. And in enclave areas A and B, it was always my viewpoint that those areas logically belonged in the city and could be served by the city. I had 3 road commissioners that served under me that used to say, Judge, why isn't this in the city? So nothing has been said to change my mind because I've always felt that these areas belonged in the city. However, moving forward, I do not share similar views about other areas proposed for annexation because they're not along that Central Avenue line that I had to serve. And I'm not sure in the future that I could vote for any more annexations. I will vote for this one tonight. And I know we've had various views on representation expressed tonight, and this is my view, expressed by Edmund Burke in his speech to the electors in Bristol, England in 1774. All right, before you put down somebody who's English, he actually spoke in behalf of the colonists and tried to prevent the Revolutionary War. He felt like the colonists had a legitimate argument, okay? So before you dismiss somebody because they're English, by the way, I have English heritage. Your representative owes you not his industry only, but his judgment. And he betrays instead of serving you if he sacrifices it to your opinion.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay.
Well, I would just like to note that I think everyone sitting here is a resident of Garland County and a resident of the city. And I don't represent the county, I represent the people of the city. And for the city's benefit, I think growth is beneficial for our community. As a county resident, I am frustrated having to pay for the inefficiency, and so I intend to support this annexation also.
Okay,
and beside that, I have gotten a lot more positive comments about annexation than negative comments. I mean, the negative has been loud. The negative has been loud, but I've had a lot of people who have contacted me and expressed the desire to approve this annexation.
Okay. Okay. Any other comment by board members? Okay. Hearing none. I want to make my statement one last final time that I am, I think it's very logical and reasonable to annex that area, but I was voted on by the people to represent the people, and I feel like you need a vote. Whether or not it is annexed or not, I feel like the people of our city need to be able to vote about what happens to their property, especially in a landmass as large as what we're discussing. So it has nothing to do with the annexation as much as it has to be your rights constitutionally to vote. So I will vote no again. Okay, would you please call the roll?
One final comment. We've talked about this state legislation. Any law passed by Congress or the state legislature or even by this body is deemed constitutional unless taken to the courts and they rule otherwise. It's true, Roman.
Okay.
No. What I'm saying is,
okay, please.
Some people are saying this law is not legal or constitutional. It is unless taken to the court and the courts overturn it and say the legislature overreached.
God is
okay.
watching.
Don't argue with the audience. Don't argue with the audience.
Okay,
No,
okay. All right.
It is true.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Williams, we don't need to argue with people now.
They're arguing with me.
No, okay, let's not argue. Would you please call the roll?
Yes. Williams?
Yes.
Ramick?
Aye.
Foley?
Aye.
Davidson?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Carney?
No.
The ayes have it. Pass.
Okay, good night. Would you please leave quietly? We'll stop for just a few minutes as you leave, but please do so quietly so we can continue with our next item of business.
Flat picture wasn't here.
They had those apartments out there.
Right in this road. Where the edge of the houses.
Just gotta. I want to do unto others as that I would have them do unto me, and I would want you to do unto me that way. Just a vote. That's all. That's all. They are. They can't hear me if I did.
They're visiting.
You're moving.
Wrap the gavel.
We need to continue our meeting. Would you please move quietly? Okay. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R1611. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R1611, a resolution awarding a contract to Crist Engineers for I'm not going to, Mayor.
Nope. Thank you.
This is agenda item number 12, Resolution R-1611, resolution awarding a contract to Crist Engineers for certain professional services, design and project management services related to the Ouachita Water Treatment Plant filter modifications project. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
Do I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And our staff person, Mr. Carnahan.
Thank you, Mayor. And
Wait.
Voted on.
Directors.
We got the motion in a second.
Oh, motion is second. All in favor, please
Yeah.
say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, please say
Very
no. Okay,
All right.
now, thank you.
Great,
There were no
great.
no's.
Well, as our city manager was saying earlier about how long it's taking to resolve finding a new water source for the city, puts more continuing pressure on our existing water treatment plants. And so we've been doing everything we can to try to make them be able to operate at peak capacity dependably. And so recently we've made changes to Basin 6 and 7, adding plate settlers to them. And now we have funding available through a recent bond issue to improve the filters at the plant. They are the next weak link in the chain of making sure that that plant can continue to operate at peak performance. And there are 9 filters. They have not been rehabbed or refurbished since they were installed. Filters 1 through 6 need to be taken all the way down and totally rebuilt inside the concrete vessels. All of the piping and under drains, all the filter media and so on need to be replaced. Filters 7 through 9 just need new media and new caps and so on. So this is a contract with Crist Engineers, whom we've hired to help us through our water issues and our water changes at the water plant. We had selected them through the rate and rank process some time ago. So the funding is available. So we're asking you to approve a contract with Crist Engineers to design the revamp of our filters at the Ouachita Water Treatment Plant. And the amount of the contract is $585,000, of which about $360,000 is related to design services, and $225,000 are related to the construction phase of the project. So I'll answer any questions if you have any. Otherwise, we'd like to ask your approval of that contract.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Carnahan?
So from start to finish, it's $585,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Davidson.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Yes.
Carney.
Aye. It is adopted. The next item of business is to consider resolution number R-1612. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
We've got 13.
Oh, 13.
Okay. Resolution R-1613, a resolution approving a bid to J.S. Haren Company for Stokes Pump Station Upgrades Project. That concludes your reading, Mayor. For now, entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
That happened when we removed 11, didn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have a motion
So moved.
and a second?
Second.
Okay. And all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, please say no. Okay. And staff person, Mr. Carnahan again.
Yes, thank you. As you know, we're working on a consent administrative order trying to reduce the overflows in our sewer system in the city, and we've invested a lot of money in doing that. Most recently, over in the area of McLeod Street, Richard Leonard Street area. By the way, we get a lot of calls going, what is all that construction over there? That is the replacement of the Stokes collection system, which is a $6.2 million major investment in our wastewater system. And but all that collections area, watershed, flows to this particular pump station. The Stokes pump station, designed by Garber Engineers. We have a representative here, Aaron's here with us tonight. But they designed the plans to revamp. We're not rebuilding that pump station. It's a very large pump station. The Stokes collection system is one of the 3 major watersheds in the city. So a large part of the city drains to that pump station. But they designed plans and specifications. We bid those. We received 3 bids. The lowest bid was $2,317,000 by J.S. Haren Company of Athens, Tennessee. Garver Engineers reviewed those bids and are recommending that we proceed ahead with awarding this bid to the J.S. Haren Company. So we're here tonight to ask you to approve that contract.
Okay. Do we have any questions about that contract?
Mayor, just to clarify the record, that is Resolution R1612. I read from the resolutions, not from the agenda. The packet has 2 1613s. This is 1612.
This is R1612. What was the one just before it then? Was that
What is the time frame on this from start to finish, Gary?
Let me ask Aaron Stallman of the Garver Engineers to help me with that.
1 year, 365.
The next one, 13.
365 calendar days for construction.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Foley?
Aye.
Davidson?
Aye.
Clark?
Aye.
Williams?
Aye this time.
Ramick?
Aye.
Carney?
Aye. It
Adopt.
is adopted. Okay. Now we're on 13.
Yes, ma'am.
The next item of business is to consider resolution number R1613. Council, would you please read the resolution by title?
Resolution R1613, a resolution authorizing out-of-state travel for certain board members as required by Resolution number 8495. That concludes your reading. May I now entertain a motion second to adopt and have discussion, if any.
May I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. And discussion, who has that one?
Madam Mayor, I would like to move that for an amendment to that motion. I have a conflict and would like to have my name removed from this resolution, please.
Is it on the resolution?
Yeah, Mayor, for benefit of the board and the public, the resolution that's actually before you and in your packet in Section 1 set out that the board members authorized to travel to the National League of Cities Conference was Director Rebecca Clark, Director Rick Ramick, Director Randy Foley. As discussed last week at the agenda meeting. Director Foley is making a motion to amend whereby his name would be removed from Section 1.
I'm just unable, I've got a conflict for that event, but I would certainly support another board member if they chose to go.
Okay.
Is there a second to that motion to amend?
Do we have a second to amend? Okay. Now, discussion.
You vote on the amendment first.
Discussion on the amendment. Is there any other questions about why he can't go?
No. Is that where you insert a name or not?
Well, we need
discussion
to,
on that.
You can only
withdrawal.
amend once at a time, so
Okay.
we need to deal with this amendment first.
All in favor of the amendment, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed to the amendment? Thank you.
Mayor,
Now,
the motion that's on the floor now as amended has 2 board members in Section 1, Director Clark, Director Ramick. If there are any proposed amendments to add one to make it a total of 3 or leave it as it is, as the board desires.
I can't.
Okay.
Easy time.
Is there any discussion on that? Leave it as it is or amend?
I can't go. I've got to teach school.
Okay. So do we
Maybe I
have?
should just stick with teaching school.
We have people signed up to talk to this. Do we leave the discussion now or
I
after?
think Bill can give an overview over
Overview.
what this conference is about.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Members of the board, staff recommends approval of out-of-state travel for Director Rebecca Clark and Director Rick Ramick to attend the National League of Cities Conference in Washington, D.C. We have March 5th through the 9th, but the actual dates of the conference would be 7th through the 9th. Hot Springs delegation traveling to Washington, D.C. to again attend National League of Cities. A significant portion of this trip will be meeting federal legislators to discuss issues of importance related to the city's future endeavors. There are a host of other, being inside a national park. We have the opportunity when you go to D.C. to be able to meet with the National Park Service, the Forest Service, the Corps of Engineers, as well as our federal legislators. And we can meet with some of their staff here locally, as well as some of the federal legislators. However, when you're there, you're able to meet with a lot of their chief of staffs, and I can tell you that's very vital when you're trying to get help from them as we move forward on several issues. I can tell you that each time we've made that trip, we don't no longer have earmarks, but they are very beneficial in helping us secure funding or coming up with ways for us to secure funding for different projects. But they also help us move projects through a labyrinth of issues as they get to Washington, D.C., and you really can't do that from here. You almost have to be there to talk about the issues with those chiefs of staff. I can tell you that they communicate with each other. As you leave one office and go to another, those staff leaders are speaking with each other, and they're forming game plans on how they're going to help us with whatever the issue may be. We will draft up something for the board members that are going, as well as help set some of those appointments. In addition to that, there is the conference, and there are several classes or opportunities to attend sessions as you're there. However, the legislative community work around those. They know those schedules, and this is a time that most of the legislative community is there, knowing that cities are going to be flying in. They usually hold 2 conferences a year. This one is always held in Washington because they know of the delegates that'll be coming in to be able to work on whatever issues may be. I can tell you that we still have significant issues with our water challenges, our water supply challenges, and we'll have a portfolio available to the board that'll be able to let you go up and speak with them and be knowledgeable. A staff member will most likely be in attendance with you as well. So,
okay, we have 2 signed up. Mark Toth.
Good evening. My name is Mark Toth. I live at 110 Montclair Lane. I'm not opposed to staff, the city manager, the city attorney, the people who are familiar with the issues. If they need to go to Washington and meet with legislators and their staff, that'd be okay. But I think something Bill said, and maybe he doesn't realize what he said, but he said, for the elected officials going, city staff will prepare talking points for you. Maybe not in those words, but they'll prepare you. They'll prompt you. You're not needed. That's $5,000 that we could save. We have lots of uses for $5,000 in this city. We have city parks that could use new tables. Watkins Memorial Park. They got a CDBG grant to start the auditorium, and they're about $5,000 shy from finishing that. In districts 5 and 6, that money could be put towards the Greenway. There are lots of projects that $5,000 could be used for. It's not necessary for the elected officials to go. And, this room was filled with people wondering, why should they come to the city? How can we be sure that our money is being spent wisely? And by saying, we're going to send the professional staff who are familiar with all these details to represent the city, and we're going to step back as elected officials and save that $5,000 for projects here in the city, you will be reaffirming to many people that you are careful and wise stewards of public money. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bob Driggers.
Bob Driggers, number 3 Stonegate. I think Mark might have read something different than I did. I saw somewhere where this trip was going to cost $7,500. But anyway, you may recall that we posted a photograph on hotspringstalk.com a few years ago showing that there were 27 attendees to this conference, had a picture of them from Arkansas. 5 of them were from Hot Springs. That's disproportionate. There's more than 27 cities in Arkansas. So if we sent 1 each, there's a lot of them that didn't even get represented. So we thought that was abuse of travel back then. Not just that, but we were sending directors, if you will recall, Reno, New Orleans, Las Vegas, Disney World, We had one director that went to Hanamaki 5 times in 4 years. We had enough of it. We recalled that director. First time in history that was done. But his primary problem was abuse of travel. So let's not get back there. You know, you're talking about the federal legislators being important to see these, because I know how your attendance are at most of the seminars. As far as seeing the federal legislators, you know, Senator Bozeman's going to be in Hot Springs this weekend. I can give you Senator Cotton's cell phone number if that would help you. Congressman Bruce Westerman's office, he lives here. It's 2 blocks away. But I know what you're going to do, so I probably should tell you, you know, March 7th to 9th, cherry blossoms are going to be out, so enjoy your taxpayer-funded vacation.
Do we have any discussion?
Yeah, I would respectfully disagree with both of the speakers. I think that there is an underappreciation for, number one, the work effort that went into at least the one that I went to last year, where everybody was pretty tired after all the meetings trying to address the water issues. Number two, I think that there is an underappreciation for the personal contact that you make with chiefs of staff. The head of the civilian representative for the Army Corps of Engineers was significantly important in developing a strategy on how to approach the Corps of Engineers. You know, as Bill pointed out, there are no earmarks, but I can tell you that each of our elected representatives with their staffs, and by the way, all of the elected representatives could not attend for various reasons, but their chiefs of staff also were instrumental in forming a collaborative effort between all of the representatives. Now, those are not done by a phone call, as was suggested by one of the speakers. Those are done in face-to-face conversations, where they can ask the questions and feel comfortable with the people that they're speaking with. So I support this. I think it's very important for our city that we continue to move forward on these important issues. It would be nice if the Congress or if the legislative representatives would accommodate us, let us go to the sessions, and then meet with us. That's just not the way it works in Washington, D.C. You go on their time, so you go up there. You go to the sessions you can go to, but you attend the conferences on their schedule. So, I mean, I think that just last year's visit, from my perspective, was very beneficial for this city.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I understand the sentiment that's behind it. I really do. But considering what all has happened in the 2.5 years that we had David Watkins as city manager, more was accomplished in the city of Hot Springs than had been done in decades. Downtown is moving forward. Chief Flory stated in one meeting, he said, when somebody asked what the crime rate downtown was, and he said it was 1%. That District 1 was 1%. And when Director Clark tried to organize a group in her district, like the Park Avenue Community Association, they said, well, those Park Avenue folks ran them all out, and they're over there now. And it shows. We see it all the time, but we're having to be diligent. But with the fact that what all we have before us, with the water, with the redevelopment of downtown, with the need for securing more employment opportunities, with the possibility of expansion of employment opportunities at the airport, and all kinds of projects coming forth, I think it's valuable that we have people talk directly to the folks that actually get the work done, and that's the staff members. You know, in the past, and if you've ever worked in a governor's office or worked with them and other offices like that, it's the staff people that get the work done. Our representatives vote on it, but they do the work molding that, helping them understand the decisions or the necessary material to enable our representatives to vote favorably in our direction, and I'm going to support this.
Got just two quick things. You mentioned having to get us talking points. I will remind everyone that Director Foley and I served on a bilateral water task force for about a year and spent many hours learning pretty much everything there is to know about our needs for water and the various lakes that we're working on. So I don't need any talking points to talk to our elected representatives about that. I'm very well versed in that. The other thing is, I told Mark this kind of as a joke, but unfortunately the cherry blossoms don't come out until March 20th, so we'd have to miss that. But I want to go anyway. I think it's important for the city.
I feel like we've had so much communication about the water with all of the legislators. Last time we took a huge book and gave it to them. They've all been very well aware. I'm just wondering if any of us have ever gone and visited the offices here in Arkansas with our stuff. It's so easy to do that, and maybe every other year or so, but if we do it every year, it's like we're repeating to them exactly the same thing we gave them last year on the water, pretty much. I mean, because they know where we are. They're very well informed about the water. So if it's something else that's major, something else that's big, they're well informed about the Majestic. They're well informed about the Brownfield. So I'm thinking if we did it every other year, it would probably save money. I think $10,000 is budgeted for it. So I just don't see the need, especially when we have really good communication with our legislators. They come here to visit us. I had a call from Tom Cotton's office today asking if they can come by and visit here at City Hall, and they do that consistently. So they know and they connect, and that's their representative that's coming to whatever it is we need. So I'm thinking maybe every other year we could save money, we could cut budget, and apply that to water sewer systems or something. I don't know.
Can I just add one thing? And I meant to say it, and then I forgot. With all we have in front of us, I think it's important to do it now, but that once we pass some of those critical areas, I can see dialing it back where it's biannual. But as long as we have these enormous issues right in front of us that we're going to be dealing with for the next 2 years, that this is a critical time. But then in the future, we'll be in good shape, hopefully, if we could get all these things done, and we won't see the need to go.
Yeah. Well, I think they're very well informed. I mean, when I talk with them, they know exactly where we are, and they're pushing for us and working hard for us. So those updates with our legislature, I feel like if you go, maybe you should see our legislators here and go to the breakout sessions they have there, the training and the different things that is provided at the conference, because that's what you're paying money for. We paid money for the whole conference and didn't attend the conference, but we're visiting people we could visit here. So I think they're two different things.
Mayor, I know that when we went last year that I attended a lot of the sessions, and they're all beneficial. It's not a vacation for us. It's work, and we stay busy the whole time we're there. Mm-hmm. So I think we bring back a lot for the city. So I'm in favor of this.
Mayor, I just wanted to add, I hate that one of the speakers took something out of context to make something negative out of that. I can tell you that each time I go, whether it's with a board member or with another organization such as the Ouachita River Valley Association, we always put those packets together for those talking points. Typically, we leave copies of that with them. That's what they will use to take notes and work on the issues as we leave. I totally agree with Director Clark. She is well versed in our water needs as well as all the members of the board. But we will put a call out to staff on other issues that may be affecting the city of Hot Springs, and we will receive that back from some of those department heads and be able to put a packet together as you go. Because again, you may need to see that you have to have may have a visit with the national park or with the Forest Service or any of one of those other agencies that we have that we're able to visit with up there. I can tell you that just in the few years or the few trips that I've made up there, it does mean a lot for an elected official to be there at those meetings. Yes, staff is important. They do recognize that, but I can tell you they do put a high regard on elected officials coming, and they will see them during that week. I mean, if you're not in the lunch line, you don't get lunch. It's important that you attend this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, would you please call the roll?
Yes. Davidson.
Aye.
Clark.
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Ramick.
Aye.
Foley.
Aye.
Carney.
No.
The ayes have it.
Okay, that concludes the business section of tonight's meeting. Are there any comments by the members of the board? Any comments?
Mayor,
Yes,
I'd like
sir.
a little bit of a redo.
A redo?
Yes.
Okay.
In that earlier discussion on annexation of Enclave B, what I perhaps didn't articulate as well as I could have was because of my experience of 16 years of providing service in that Enclave Area B. I just felt like it logically belonged in the city, that the county, this is what I didn't say, the county is overextended in terms of the number of miles it has to patrol, in terms of the number of the amount of streets it has to maintain. But I don't, and so I've always been predisposed to see those two areas annexed. I do not feel moving forward the same thing about some other proposed enclaves out here. And I would hope that until we name a permanent city manager, that we go slower on future annexations. And that's just my opinion.
Okay.
I think we've already instructed staff to proceed, period. And so unless there's a different direction for this board, I would encourage staff continue them.
All right. So what I'm saying now is I don't have the same fervor for those other enclaves. I'm going to have to be sold, okay? And maybe that's staff, but again, from my own personal perspective, I really think we ought to go slower on these future annexations. Because I'm personally at this point, the staff will have to sell me.
I don't question that. What I'm saying is, what I heard was that you wanted staff to slow down, and I said I think the staff has a directive from the board to proceed in an expeditious and orderly fashion. And unless the board chooses to change that direction, I don't think we can individually ask staff to slow down.
Okay. Well, then let it be said in the future. I just have reservations. Okay. All right.
I'm okay with that too.
All right, that concludes the business section. Any other comments? Immediately following the adjournment of tonight's business meeting, there will be a public commentary here in the board chambers. For those of you who will be leaving, please do so quietly. There being no further business, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? No? Okay, we are adjourned.